Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for Tuesday, the 25th of October 2022. We have previously resolved an apology for Councillor Trevor, so there's no need to accept that apology again. Councillors, do we have any messages of condolence? No messages of condolence. The next item on the agenda is the prior notifications of conflicts of interest. Tanya? Thanks, Tanya. Okay, thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is the Mayor's statement on current issues, and I'd like to welcome back our Special Olympians who arrived back in Gladstone on Sunday after competing in the Nationals. I think it was in Tasmania. A number of councillors were at the airport to wish them farewell when they're heading off to compete, and of course were there to greet them again on Sunday when they returned. And I believe they returned with a whole heap of medals, so congratulations to our Special Olympians. The Gladstone Engineering Alliance was held earlier. The Gladstone Engineering Alliance conference was held earlier this month, and well done to Peter Masters and the team, of course, putting on a fantastic conference there at the Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre. A number of councillors just returned from the Local Government Association of Queensland's annual conference in Cairns, where I can say that all motions put forward by Gladstone Regional Council were carried. There was a bit of debate on one, but we managed to get it through. Thank you, Councillor. Good luck. Of course, the Gladstone Women's Health Centre celebrated their 30th anniversary on the 22nd of October this year, so congratulations to the Gladstone Women's Health Centre on their 30th anniversary birthday, and keep up the good work. The team there do an amazing job for supporting our local women. The Marty Hanson Memorial Art Awards were launched at the Gladstone Art Gallery Museum on Friday with the sponsors night, and of course Saturday night with the main event, and Jeffrey Head, our local artist, won the major prize. How good was that? Not very often. I've been to a number of the Marty Hanson Awards, and generally our locals don't win the major prize, so it's so good to see Jeff win that award. And of course his sister won an award earlier in the night as well, so congratulations to everyone involved, but particularly our locals. 151, I think it was, local entries in the Marty Hanson Art Awards this year. Seniors Month is still continuing. We had the Mayor's Seniors Morning Tea at the GCC, and thank you to councillors who attended that. Obviously, in my absence, I had to send a video from Cairns, but by all accounts, it was a fantastic morning tea.
There's only one, Mr Mayor.
Only one? Thank you, whoever the councillor was. Councillor Rick. Thank you, Rick, for attending that for me.
They did appreciate it.
I know they did. They certainly did. And, of course, we have the lunch at the Old Station on Wednesday, so I'll be attending that. So any seniors watching online that's going to the Old Station on Wednesday, we'll see you there. This Sunday, Zonta celebrates their 30th anniversary, so we'll be wishing Zonta a very happy birthday this Sunday. Cruise ships, I think I may have already mentioned it, but our cruise ships return back to Gladstone on the 14th of November, which is fantastic to see the cruise terminal finally being used. Obviously completed just prior to COVID, and then hasn't actually had a cruise ship dock in there yet. So our Feast on East markets will be back again. And yeah, we're certainly looking forward to welcoming, I think it's the Holland America, first one back on the 14th of November. And I'd like to acknowledge our Gladstone Region Citizen of the Year in the gallery this morning, Amber Rogers, which is perfect timing because this year we're doing something different for our Australia Day Awards. We're inviting the previous winners to be on part of the committee to help select the next year's winners. So nominations are now open for the 2023 Australia Day Awards for the Gladstone region, and they're open until Sunday the 13th of November, so can I encourage everyone in the Gladstone region to nominate someone they believe is either a community champion, involved in local sport, cultural or community, or just a volunteer in our local community as well. So this year the categories are Citizen of the Year, Young Citizen of the Year, Sport and Recreation Award, Young People's Sport and Recreation Award, the Art and Culture Award, the Community Event Award, Community Volunteer Award, and the Mayor's Community Champion Award. And of course, we're encouraging everyone to get involved in that. And also nominations for our Youth Council are open until Sunday the 4th of December. So anyone aged 15 to 24 can nominate via Council's website online, and encouraging our Youth Council nominees to get their nominations in as well. Councillors, that's the Mayor's statement on current issues. I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the confirmation of the minutes, G2.1, for the general meeting of the 4th of October 2020. Mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Branthwaite. Seconded, Councillor Cameron. Any business arising? No. We'll put the motion. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is the officers' reports, and the first officers' report is G3.1, the 6th monthly update of statutory delegations, and I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark.
Morning, Mayor. Morning, councillors. This report is for your consideration is around the update of our delegation. So we systemically review our delegations essentially on a 6-monthly basis, and what we have in front of you is a number of delegations that have been reviewed through LGAQ and their contractor King Company with respect to 8 pieces of legislation, and the subsequent delegations that then flow as a result of those. So there's essentially an attachment there that has all the delegations and all the parts of the Act that we're looking at delegating through from Council to the CEO, and then for that, and then there'll be decisions about how we then outwork that. But for your consideration.
Thank you, Mark. Questions, General Manager, please. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mayor Matt. And I suppose it's the one that I've been asking regularly as we continue to see legislative changes occurring in relation to the delegations, and as it's inferred here that this power and the separation of the delegation. So my question begs again, each time there's a change of legislation, there's no intent to hide the onus of responsibility on the CEO in relation to that being available to members of the public?
No, delegation registers are available, made public, and we do. And essentially, these are decision-making opportunities that essentially can still rest with council. It's then looking at, in terms of that efficiency of decision-making and the speed, recognising that for some of them we need to probably delegate those to the CEO and then council officers to make sure we're getting those responses out to our community and decisions out in time.
Look, I understand the benefits that occur because it streamlines the process and it allows decision-making to occur so you can get on with the general day-to-day business. But at the same time, whenever there is a change of legislation, I'm always, very mindful or open-minded that the last thing we need to be doing is to ensure that it's not transparent and it's readily available. You give me that comfort today, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, it's all fairly straightforward. I'm happy to move the motion, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hanson, seconded. Councillor Churchill. Any further debate? Questions? Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is G3.2, which is Gladstone Airport Corporation appointment of 3 non-executive directors, and I'll hand back to Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, as you'll be aware, we're going through a process of recruiting our non-executive directors for the Gladstone Airport Corporation. So we go through a regular process there of updating membership. So there has been a process worked through with Directors Australia and with both the Mayor and CEO as part of those panels. Probably more appropriate for me to hand over to the CEO to take you through the balance of the process with Directors Australia and Gladstone Airport Corporation for working through the 3 applicants for your consideration.
Thank you, Mark. Councillors, as you're aware, we were tasked with recruiting 2 directors for the Gladstone Airport Corporation Board, and you'll note that our recommendation here is to consider appointing 3. Firstly, just to explain that the calibre and the quality of the applicants we had was really impressive, and it was a very difficult job to narrow down the field, and we're quite impressed with the skills. Just considering we're looking at replacing Brad Bowes with extensive industry experience, and we're also looking to cover the risk skill set was the areas that the Chair of the Board was most concerned at. So we looked at those quite carefully going through the applicants. So we have 1 current vacancy, as you know, and 1 that's coming up on 1st of July. So we were tasked with replacing those 2 people. It's also worth noting, it does state in the report there, we have 2 directors who are due to conclude on the 30th of June as well. So under the conversation with the board, the chair of the board and the mayor may wish to comment, it was recommended that while we had such good quality applicants, we may consider appointing a third director with the anticipation that at least one of the directors due to finish in June would not be extended. The usual process for consideration of extending or concluding the terms of directors is that the chair of the board will write to council and make a recommendation. Obviously, we're only in October now, so that's still some way away. So there is some risk to council if they were to adopt our recommendation to appoint a third person, but we felt it was worth recommending to you as a bit of a safety net, and given the time and effort that's required for the recruitment process and the calibre of the applicants, but that's totally at council's discretion. So the recommendation there is to appoint Dana Field, Kieran Donovan, and our local representative, Anthony Groenwood, who we've recommended on the condition that he complete the Australian Institute of Company Directors course. He's very willing and wanting to do that. Has some good experience, but we just felt that would be good governance to recommend that. So I don't know if the Mayor would like to add anything before you consider.
Yeah, I can just add, probably on the terms of good governance, obviously Anthony, I know, has enrolled in the director's course to do that. But I think from our point of view, with two directors potentially retiring in June 30, and the number of locals included in that, it's important to have included a local, I believe, in this selection criteria. If both of those directors decided that they didn't want to continue, or the board didn't recommend continue, we would then be down 2 additional directors. And of course, our constitution doesn't restrict the number of directors on there in terms of adding a third. So I think this is an easy decision to make today, and it's a decision we can make in probably March next year as to whether we, depending on the recommendation of the board chair, whether we continue with the number we have or extend a bit further. So what that would mean is the 2 directors that are due at the 30th of June, if the recommendation is that they continue, and we were wanting to continue them with the current 3 that are recommended here, that would just mean that from the 30th of June we would have an additional board member, 1 board member. But if not, there is an opportunity for us to say, no, we would not be continuing with one of those 2 directors that's been on the board for a number of years potentially, and potentially also due for retirement as well. So that's a decision really for council to make at a later date, but this is all about making sure we have continuity of a board. And I think the 3, having sat through all the interviews and read a lot of resumes, it's not a process I particularly want to go through again March next year, if that's okay. Questions, councillors?
Yeah, just a couple of brief questions, and thank you. And look, I recognise, and I'm sure we all do recognise and appreciate that it's been an intense and thorough process, so congratulations, well done. My questions, and I've got a couple, and perhaps there is a brief answer, and you've already alluded to it as such, is there an intent here to grow the size of the board of the airport? And if there is, have we allowed the sufficient budget allocation for it, or is that an anticipated budget decision that we need to make for 23-24? That's my first question. Second question is, in this process, did we identify that there is any skill deficiency within the board that you're trying to fill? Have we done a skills assessment in relation to the board from a strategic governance perspective? And if that's not the case, or if that is the case, is the current board deficient in any skills that we're trying to recruit within the current 3 that you've got within your recommendation? So
I'll jump in first and throw to
Thank
Lisa.
you.
So yes, I think we will have a skill deficiency, if not soon, very shortly. In terms of when Brad leaves, I think that what he brings to the table is extensive knowledge in that risk area, and we've certainly replaced them, that skill set here, recommending for that skill set to replace, and also with the passing of Lee Zimmerly, the local representation, which is also included in this recommendation. So I think the skill set that is potentially deteriorating is being recommended here today to be replaced, and then I don't think there's a skill set shortage after that. Lisa, your comments?
thank you for that.
Yes, I'd agree. We're particularly looking for risk management and also aviation industry experience. So particularly Dana and Kieran have covered off those areas really well. So really excited about the experience that they bring to the roles. In terms of the budget, I'd anticipate the request or recommendation from the chair of the board to be received sometime in perhaps the first quarter of next year. So we would be aware ahead of time whether there would be a budget impost. Note in the report we talk about the remuneration of $20,000 per year. Would like to just note also that Councillor Hanson, as a council appointee does not receive that remuneration. So that is a saving for council, and we greatly appreciate the work that Councillor Henson does on behalf of council on that board. So at that time, we would be aware of if there was any budget impost. But again, that's council's decision. It's the current terms are due to end on 30 June, and it would be council's decision if you wanted to extend or not extend at that point in time.
So I suppose the final question of that is that if there is a budget consideration, the budget consideration is 23-24. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions, councillors? Councillor Goodluck.
I'm happy to move the recommendation. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. And seconded, Councillor Branthwaite. Any further questions, councillors? No? Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is appointment G3.3, appointment of a councillor to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Back to you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Another item with respect to appointments to council committees, and this one's again in the light of essentially that rotation of membership and looking at getting that experience for councillors on our Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. So we've generally got, as you know, we've currently got Councillor Muscat and Councillor Grady on the committee. But what we do seek to do from time to time is look at rotating membership to get exposure from councillors onto that committee. So Councillor Grady has been on that committee since April 2020, and so it's probably looking to see whether there's any interest in rotating that essentially in the interest of good governance.
Thanks. Can I throw Councillor Grady? Is this your suggestion?
My suggestion wasn't resignation.
Oh.
It was just to step back if somebody else wanted the opportunity, because we do have 18 months left of in this position, and I just thought if somebody else wanted that experience, now would be the best time, I think, to do that. And I've served it, and I have attended every meeting since 2016. I think I've missed two meetings, and which I've really enjoyed actually being on the committee. It's been fantastic, but I think in the degree of fairness, I think you know, if somebody else was interested, yes, I'd step back. Yes.
Councillor Muscat, you're also on that committee. You're happy to stay, remain?
Yeah, I'm happy to stay. I've only just started
Yeah.
and I haven't resigned.
No, good, thank you. I just want to make sure that we're only looking at potentially replacing one if there's another councillor interested. Is there?
Yeah, we have, Councillor Cameron and Councillor Darrell as proxies, so don't know if they will be wanting to maybe step up and then get another proxy on their place.
Councillor Branthwaite?
Actually, Councillor Cameron and myself have discussed things. He's got I suppose, a desire to progress his knowledge even further. So, is that correct?
Councillor Cameron?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Darrell. Yeah, look, my intention was, as proxy, to move into that position in some time.
Yep.
I don't think there'll be any opposition to that.
No, I expect not.
Okay. So then we need to appoint an alternate. So would Councillor O'Grady, would you be happy to go back as an alternate delegate? If you've been attending every one since the 2016, I would like some continuity in there as well.
Yes, most certainly, Mr Mayor. Yeah.
Thank you. Therefore, I would like to move that we accept Councillor's resignation as an Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee member, appoint Councillor Cameron as an Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee member, and that we appoint Councillor O'Grady as an alternate to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Any further discussion or debate? Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. That one came as a bit of a surprise. Okay, G3.4 is monthly financial report for the period ending 30th of September 2022. Back to Mark, taking over today.
It's a pleasure, Mr Mayor. This report's your monthly financial report for the period ended 30th September, so essentially taking us to a quarter of the way through the 22-23 financial year. So, as you'll see from this report, our income is sitting below that pro rata figure in total at 21%, but we do have a number of areas that are looking a little bit more favourable than that. We've got our interest revenue figure that is looking, previous years has obviously been quite low, but the positive for council from an investment space is that whilst we've got cash holdings that range in times between 80 million and around about 150, 160 million, getting better returns on that money gives us greater benefits. So we're seeing benefits now from most recent deposits of around about 3.8%. So whilst we received 2.1 just from letting it sit with Queensland Treasury, going out and getting those individual term deposits is yielding some better returns for us. So we'll likely to see some upswing there over the course of the financial year. Our rates revenue continues to come in, and we've got discount closing this week on the 26th of October. And that will see essentially then continue on that space. The balance of that income that will come in will be our water consumption revenue, and that'll come in line with the next lot of readings due to take place at the end of November, early December. With respect to our expenditure overall, sitting just below that pro rata piece, and you'll see that our employee benefits is on the other side of that. It's just over at 25.8 compared to 25%, and we do have some high spends there, particularly with respect to our materials and services, like at 30% compared to 25% pro rata. So we do need to keep an eye on those, and the team are going through a forecast process within the business at the moment to understand what is essentially the ongoing impact on our services with respect to potentially those increased costs that we see flowing through. So, and whether there's an opportunity for us to essentially look at how we can review those. With respect to our capital spend, still looking a little bit behind where we would like to be at this point in time. So 7.9 million in terms of actual spend, $12.8 million in commitments. So certainly sees us at the moment on probably below where we would like to be, but certainly the team is working through as part of the forecast process where that capital budget is likely to finish. In terms of comparables for our outstanding rates, this is probably the last month that we will be comparing against the previous financial year, because essentially with discount closing this week, we'll essentially be reporting from essentially the end of October on the current financial year and comparing that. So we've ended this year at essentially 2.19%. So that basically means that's the amount of the levy that's remaining from the previous financial year. As you'll see, that's certainly a significant reduction. So certainly we're at 3.2 for the previous year. So it's essentially a full percentage point reduction. So, and that's probably indicative of essentially that a lot of the transactions that are occurring within the certainly we're seeing lots of property transfers still coming through. So essentially with that, when you're getting that property turnover, you'll generally realise greater debt collection, so that particularly from a rates perspective. So we're seeing that take place. Your ratios are in line with where we would expect for this time of year.
Sorry, Mark, can I just interrupt? Just with relation to the outstanding from previous years, the graphs in there really don't show what's outstanding, or is it, or do they actually show that? Like you're doing this comparison to was owing or not recovered at the same time last year.
Same time last year. Yep.
So that doesn't indicate though the recovered stuff since then.
No, so that's showing you essentially we've got 2.19% of the overall rate levy last year.
Yeah.
Essentially still outstanding. So that's essentially what you're comparing.
So the previous years is still outstanding?
Yeah, so that's of those, yeah. So of that, what would be the 21-22 financial year? Yeah. So that's how much is still outstanding at that point in time.
Oh, at that point in time, but not today.
That's right. Yeah, so we'll start comparing ourselves with the 22-23 levy as of this month. So once we've got a discount date and we've got to the end of that,
right,
that's when we start comparing the next year.
So, without notice, have we got an approximate idea of how much is outstanding from previous years?
It's a lot. I can probably circulate that figure to be exactly that. I just don't want to put that number out there. At 2.1% based on essentially $160 million, I can have a rough guess that it's in and around that 3 to 3.5 million.
Yeah, right.
But I can circulate that exact figure.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Councillor Brown, just to make sure I'm clear, is your question about the years before where that amount was outstanding, has that been paid back? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we're sort of comparing it to that line in the sand right there and then.
Yes, but what's happened since then?
But what's happened since then is a lot of that's been recovered.
The previous years.
Yeah, that's right. So we've reduced that, and so as people pay their debts and as people work through their debt collection arrangements, so to speak,
Yeah.
for those that are on those. Yeah, essentially, the money we receive is applied against that older debt at that point in time and works their way through.
So we don't report on that, essentially, Mark?
That essentially is in your
Yeah.
but that essentially is in your balance. That isn't
That's
essentially
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's owing.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Correct.
yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. With respect to the ratios are essentially where we would expect it at this time of year. And certainly there's some of those that certainly change, and particularly with respect to your cash balances and your capital delivery, they'll come certainly closer to our budgeted positions as the year progresses. But happy to take questions with respect to the report.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Churchill?
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, impressive report. Thank you for that, Mark. This one's probably a little bit left field. On page 17 of 27, you make reference to the current market trends and the fuel usage across council is down compared to the same period last year. It doesn't actually indicate how much it's down by, but I suppose if it's down, that could be for a number of different reasons. However, you indicated in there that the fuel prices remain volatile, which we're all well aware of. You see the market adjustments every day. My question begs is that, are we doing any work at this particular stage in relation to the future of our fleet regarding the new energy, electricity and or hydrogen? Because the element of unknown of fuel prices continues to be volatile, and we don't know how long it's going to be volatile. So it's a simple question, hopefully a simple answer. Are we doing any work at this stage in relation to electric vehicles and or hydrogen?
Probably happy to hand over to GM Ops, who can probably give you an update as to where we are with some of that work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Yes, good big question on notice, and it is a focus of some work we're doing this year in terms of sustainability in general. The work this year will be around understanding the utilisation and running costs of the fleet by utilising technology to gauge that. And from that, we'll be able then to determine where our bigger fuel users are and where things like electric vehicles would be appropriate. I suppose the thing to consider with electric vehicles is that technology in terms of use for our heavy vehicle fleet isn't efficient for us at the present time, but we still need to prepare for what the future would look like.
Okay, so I suppose I'm seeing it in some local government areas that they're actually doing a trial. Are we, at this early stage, proposing to do a trial of a vehicle at any stage?
We do have one.
We already have electric vehicles in the fleet.
Yeah, we've got the one small vehicle, haven't we?
We've got a couple
Sedan.
of small ones coming. We've done some work in understanding whether electric trucks would be suitable. Our mileage or usage of trucks isn't at a point where that would be efficient at the present time in terms of the upfront cost of the truck.
All right. So watch and wait and see, I suppose. Thank you.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Hanson? Normally a finance report doesn't get past you.
No, there's not much change from last month,
Very
and
cool.
it's still moving along as it does, and I'm happy to move it,
Thank you.
the report be accepted.
Thank you. Move, Councillor Hanson, second, Councillor Branthwaite. Councillor O'Grady, do you have a question? Oh, sorry. Okay, any further questions before I put the motion? All in favour? This motion's carried. Very quick agenda this morning, councillors. The next item on the agenda is deputations. We have no deputations. Councillor reports. Councillor Branthwaite.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. There's a declarable conflict of interest. So I, Darryl Branthwaite, informed the meeting I have a declarable conflict of interest in the agenda items relating to the Zendev project at Boyne Island, to the point where my relationship with a possible certain real estate agent, being my wife, could stand to gain if she was to appoint a real estate agent of a project that could be adjacent next door, because it does provide upside for sales. But in saying that, it's drawing quite a long bow as far as that's concerned. And even though I've got this declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person could have perception of bias because of the proposed or the future project that could happen next door, whether we're still in real estate or not. Therefore, I choose to remain in the meeting. However, I do respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain or participate in the decision. Thank you.
Hey, Tanya?
Sorry, Councillor Branthwaite, can I just confirm if you don't believe that the public would have a reasonable perception of bias, then that is not a declarable conflict of interest? So a declarable conflict of interest is when a reasonable member of the public would consider that you would be biased as a result of your personal interest.
So perhaps
just
Councillor
confirming.
Branthwaite was suggesting that it's possible that a reasonable member of the public
Yes.
might have some perceived bias, but you are suggesting that you would be able to manage that conflict appropriately and requesting council to consider that you be able to stay in the room. Is that the case?
Yeah, correct, Councillor Khan. That's probably where I sit at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's all right, just confirming for the minutes. But the question is for all councillors as to whether it would be in the public interest for Councillor Branthwaite to remain in the room, given his personal interest, and to participate in the decision. So that includes future discussions, briefings, and decisions.
Councillor Goodluck.
Councillor Branthwaite, can I ask, has your wife as a real estate agent been given any contracts in relation to any proposed project there or not?
No, she hasn't, Councillor Goodluck. It's probably, as I said, drawing a long bow, but I just wanted to make sure that I was clear and transparent with all this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just taking a cautious approach.
I am. Extremely cautious. It's not only for my own sake of perceptions of my decision-making ability, but also my wife is, so I'm quite conscious of her integrity. It doesn't need to be breached at all.
Congratulate Councillor Branthwaite on the transparent and integral approach that you're taking. But I do, so my understanding, there's no guarantee that your wife would be given any potential contract for a start. So there's I do think in that that is a long bow and that you should be able to remain in the room. So just clarify, do we have to vote, first of all, whether there's a conflict and then whether or not Councillor Branthwaite can remain in the room, or just that he can remain in the room?
No, so under the current legislation, once a councillor declares there's a conflict, it's settled. Your decision is whether or not it's in the public interest for Councillor Branthwaite to continue to participate in the decision. If you would like, the department has provided some guidance around what councillors should consider in considering if it is in the public interest. I can go through that with you if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd like that, but I've got a question. Councillor Branthwaite, you're talking about the adjacent property to the proposed Zendev site, is that right? Is that currently listed for sale? And if so, is it with the agency?
No, as far as I knew, it was under the one package with the seller. So is the agency your wife works for got an exclusive agency on this? Not at present. But it's possible, is what you're saying. Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Yeah, that's right. Well, anyone could get that. That's right. Oh. It could be multiple. Well, isn't it then a conflict of interest if they then get the exclusive agency? There's more than one agent in Tanham. That's right.
Councillor Branthwaite has declared a conflict of interest now, so it moves to the question around whether it's in the public interest.
Okay. Can you run through those things, can you please?
Sure. So the department advises that these questions are examples of valid reasons for deciding whether participation is in the public interest. Will the councillor's involvement negatively affect the community's trust in the decision? How close is the councillor's relationship to the related party? Will the decision have a big impact on the councillor or a related party? Is the interest unique to the councillor or related party or widely shared by others in the community? Is there a way the councillor could influence the decision or gain a benefit? Is a potential benefit for the councillor or related party certain, or is it just a remote possibility? And does a councillor have knowledge that might help make the best decision in the public interest?
Thanks, that didn't really help me at all. It becomes an issue if it becomes an issue. Otherwise, it's not. Councillor Brent, good one. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I think should circumstances change in future, then Councillor Branthwaite will update his conflict of interest register. At the current point, it's a remote possibility, as just mentioned in my view. There's no guarantee that, I note the proponent hasn't even submitted a DA for this particular project, to my knowledge. It's not, so there's not even a project at the moment, much less a contract for any potential real estate agent, much less any guarantee that Councillor Branthwaite's what. So Councillor Branthwaite, in my view, is taking an ultra cautious and transparent approach in the interest of, maintaining integrity, and I think that's a good thing. But I'm happy to move the motion that Councillor Branthwaite is able to participate in this discussion moving forward, subject to him updating his conflict of interest if circumstances change in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Any further comments or questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Muscat.
Sorry, I guess, yes, again, as Councillor Goodluck said, it is very, thank you, Councillor Darrell, for doing that. It is a very interesting time, and this is some of the things that we need to do all the time to make sure that the community understands how things can affect us, as we do everything in good faith, but we don't know what other people are going to be thinking out there. So this is an example of us trying to make sure that everyone's aware of what we're thinking. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Branthwaite, I've asked CEO for advice because I actually have a conflict of interest on this issue myself, and I leave the room when it's discussed and debated. But we're only discussing whether you have a conflict of interest, not the issue. And I asked if I could abstain from voting. I can't. I have to vote one way or another. And because of my conflict, and that's not, I'm going to be voting against it. But that's nothing. Just because abstaining is not an option for me, unfortunately. So I can't support a motion for you to remain in the room when I can't remain in the room myself. So I have a mover in Councillor Goodluck and a second in Councillor Muscat.
Just to complicate it a little bit more.
Well, I did, and I just want for people watching saying, what is he doing in the room still? That is why I'm still here, because we're not debating the ZENDEB proposal. We're debating whether Councillor Branthwaite can remain in the room. And if I could abstain, I would. I'll get some more governance on that later, why I can't. Any further discussion, councillors? No? I put the motion. All in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Any further councillor reports? A long bow, bro. It is a long bow, bro. Councillors, no further? Yes, Councillor Branthwaite.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was attending the LGAQ conference with you guys and girls last week, and it was my first as an observer. I think for clarification, there are two delegates per council, and in our case, it was the mayor and the deputy mayor, and they're the only ones that can debate anything. They're the only ones that can vote on anything, and it was very interesting to be part of this year's LGAQ, where there was, I think, nearly 800 delegates, and it was very impressive, right from our Indigenous communities from the far north to the far west, and everybody's got their own issues and that. But the motions that were debated was very interesting, because there's 136 or something motions. It was very, very interesting, and for the people out there in our region, you can be rest assured that these two people here and also our administration staff led by our CEO Lisa, you've got to be extremely proud of the way that the whole thing has been conducted. It was really cool to watch, and I learnt a hell of a lot. It was quite impressive, even though these two were against. One was for a motion, one was against a motion, and it got debated out. So it was very good.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Sorry, Councillor Branthwaite. Yes, Councillor Goodluck and I did actually vote against each other on one motion, which was the first time.
Were you taking the opinions of council when you voted against or for, or what?
We put all our council motions and they were supported and passed. And then there was
That's
one.
okay.
There was
As
one
long as you're
motion.
supporting our motions. That's
There was
all.
one motion that was put about how to vote cards and those sorts of things, where Councillor Goodluck and I, probably for the first time, where a mayor and deputy mayor on the same council spoke against each other. It was a bit of fun, and Councillor Goodluck lost. I did.
It was, I think it was the first time anyone could recall a mayor and deputy mayor from the same council, but just, we certainly were united on all of our motions, Councillor Hanson, and
That's all
took
I
the
need to
views
know,
of
Councillor.
our
Thank you.
council to, and with some hotly contested debate on some of our motions as well, but we managed to be successful there. And yeah, I did learn a valuable lesson, not to go first in the debate when you're debating against your own mayor, because he rolled me really quickly, so it was good.
Thank you.
That
Any
was very
further
good.
councillor reports? Okay, no further council reports. We have no urgent business, no notices of motion, no confidential items. Declare the meeting closed. Ask you to join us for morning tea. Thank you.